be a dominant strategy for people, and then I stated that pensions who distribute, who have a rule that the assets of the accounts of the deceased are in any cohort are distributed among the survivors of that cohort. That's equivalent. It's a proposition. It's equivalent to deferred annuities. You think about it for a minute, you see that's the case. And I still am surprised that pension fund. Excuse me.
Not if there's heterogeneity.
Well, as I said, the heterogeneity in what sense? In
different wealth.
Excuse me.
People have different wealths.
Yeah, how to divide it? Yeah, I agree. But yeah, right. How to divide it? Yeah, different amounts. Different amounts. You're right. Yeah, there must be maybe proportional. Yeah, I understand. I understand. It's proportional. Right. Right. But it's surprising that pension funds. Of course, the law of large numbers. I'm talking about large enough pension funds. And by the way, large enough pension funds. If you look at the, you take these binomials, and so forth. It's enough. People were talking about returns to scale after several thousand or more. It's proportional. Large numbers is a good assumption there. I wonder why pension funds do not do that, and sometimes people are not given an option of either you get a more you get this higher return by if you die. People who have no interest in bequests, or people can choose an option of not doing that and getting something for survivors' benefits and so forth. These options are not always given by pension funds. Anyway. Okay.
Wasn't there a kind of insurance called tontine?
Tontine, of course. This is the Middle Age. As Jay should know about tontines. Yes, this was a very.
Oh yes.
You didn't pronounce it right. You said now.
French is
tontines, which was sort of a combination of insurance and games, right? If I'm right, this was put in a pool of money in a pool, so a group of people, and then those who died, the money was distributed among the remaining one until one remained and took the rest. That was a kind of insurance. Yeah.
Game because it might be manipulated.
That's right. Might be manipulated. But I understand it was a very favorable game among the aristocracy in Europe and so forth. Anyway, yeah, that's. I remember once looking up in Google the tontines. Yes, that was the tontines, indeed. So today I want to continue on the aspects of the annuity markets, and you will see I'm going to address now today more the issue of arrival of information later in life, and the issue of the possibility of bundling, and then end with some proposal for a financial instrument, another financial instrument, which is important. Let me say outright, this is this was related to what I said, the existence of residual annuity markets. In other words, residual, I mean buying annuities later in life, which is, of course, you can do it, but you cannot selling annuities, unlike life insurance, as far as I know, does not exist in the US. Of course, you can take contingent loans, which is exactly like selling annuities. If there would be contingent loans, you can do that. You can decumulate annuities. And the need for that, we will see, arises when you have more than one type of uncertainty. And then the need, I think, for flexibility in annuity market, flexibility in that sense of having the possibility of buying and selling is clear. I read recently a survey by Wyatt Watson, the largest pension fund in the UK, who, when people were asked, would you like to buy annuities, the majority said no, even not referring to price. They didn't say at the right price I would buy or not. They wouldn't buy annuities. And the most common, I think 60% or so of the respondents said, I wouldn't buy because I don't want to be stuck with annuities. The word was not stuck, but I don't want to be stuck with annuities, which I interpret as the fact that they may think that they have needs. People anticipate that they may have needs, and they don't want to have an asset which actually they would have liked to sell some of it, and are unable to do so. And so I think by finding, incorporating more flexibility in the annuity markets, and thereby inducing young people to buy annuities, deferred annuities, yes, this would be a welfare desirable move. Anyway, oh, I see. We start. It's a dismal subject, right? Dying and so forth, but so I have this, yeah, from the New Yorker. So what today I have mentioned it, but today I'll talk in some more details about different types of annuities. And you'll see there are regular annuities, which are simply a contract, a financial contract that is contingent on survival, and which promises the holder of this asset a stream of payments. Need not be constant. It can be increase any form that you would like in principle, although almost all annuities provide a constant stream. And in the U.S., typically unindexed, by the way, which is, again, could be done. I don't see a reason why not index payments. And there was one firm, I think, New York Life, which had indexed annuities, but I don't know whether it exists today. In fact, it's, and some of the reasons were given that it's not indexed is that the firms cannot cover themselves, the insurance firms who issue the annuities cannot cover. Now they have the U.S. government, there are bonds, who are indexed bonds, the TIPS, they're called TIPS. And so they could cover themselves with TIPS. And again, it's interesting, the TIPS market is very thin. But I know it's a market, and I remember a conference a year ago with Bob Merton was there, and when asked advice what to invest in, he said, I don't want to give advice, but one thing I can tell you, I invested in TIPS recently. I think this is an depressed market, and okay, so he thinks that this is a good investment. So that's a regular annuity. And then there are annuities which I call period certain annuities, and they can be 10 years, 20 years. And again, what is the specification of 10-year certain annuities, which are, as I told you, very favorable among clients of, say, TIA-CREF. In fact, I think 60 or 70% are taking that kind of plan, the 10 or 20%, 10 or 20 years certain. Well, you can have behavioral sort of explanation saying that 10-year certain sounds good. 10-year certain. People do not understand fully the annuity, what an annuity is. They think after I retire, if I die a year later, I lost everything. These are the terms of annuities, yes. But if you have 10-year certain annuities, which means that if you die within this specified period, then the recipients will receive for the remainder of the period. Some designated recipients will get the remainder of that. So I said this is annuities which offer a bequest option. And I told you the puzzle about that. It's a bequest option, but a random bequest, because it depends on whether you die within the specified period or not. And of course, all the sums are actuarially adjusted. So for the same amount of money, you will not get the same stream of benefits after retirement as with regular annuities. They're adjusted for the fraction of the population that will get these, that will die within the specified period. And so these are all, as you'll see, there's an equilibrium. These are equilibrium amounts. And it was a puzzle. Why people buy these period certain annuities and as favorable? And I told, yeah, it can be some behavioral, but I would like always to go with more standard explanations rather than going into this black box of behavioral. And you'll see, I will aim at the type of equilibrium with asymmetric information and the pooling equilibrium that is typical, and I think is the right modeling for the annuity market. You'll have self-selection, people buying also period certain annuities in addition to regular annuities. There will be a self-selection of the population depending on longevity. Okay? And of course, you'll see today, I'll write it more formally, the adverse selection, given the people who know about themselves that they live longer will purchase will purchase annuities in larger quantities. than others, and that's why sometimes annuity contracts seem so unfavorable. In the U.S., if I remember, say the ballpark numbers were that somebody with $100,000, a 65-year-old male with $100,000 goes to New York Life. They will offer the male, I think, $8,200 a year. Okay, and a female will get, I think, something $7,900 or $7,800 a year. The difference being that those females' life expectancy is 4 years more than males. Excuse me? 100,000. Well, okay. People think that this is not a good deal because I can get on government bonds or something like 4 or 5%, and I still keep my principal. So the 8,200 doesn't look. But this reflects, of course, the market equilibrium. Who buys these bonds? And in fact, I brought the book by Brown, Mitchell, Poterba, and Warshawski, The Role of Annuity Markets in Financing Retirement. You'll see there the data about the survival probabilities of people in different ages, males and females, and so forth, and see how this is different from the population survival function, from the overall survival function. And you see the adverse selection clearly, very distinctly in the figures there, that those who buy have a much higher life expectancy and in all ages higher survival rates than the average for the population. And that's what creates these figures that I said, the equilibrium figures. Yeah, I say here, the UK is an important market to look into because Margaret Thatcher allowed the opting out from the public system at the time, and most Britons chose that option. They went to mandatory. There was mandatory private pensions, okay, and they chose that. And by the way, the crisis, they're in trouble, but. So they chose that. So you have actually now in the UK two types of annuity market. There's the mandatory ones, those who chose that and therefore receive benefits which are annuities, basically from private pensions. And then you have the voluntary, those who went in and on top of that or separately are still in the public system but bought. And you would expect perhaps that the adverse selection will be stronger among those who are voluntary, in the voluntary market, in the voluntary annuity market. And I suggested to Amy Finkelstein and Jim Poterba to look into it. The data is there, and by the way, also data about life insurance, which nobody has yet checked the interaction of life insurance and the annuity market. Anyway, I'll come to that. Then the issue of bundling. We know, now I'll give something from elementary microeconomics. You remember here is the monopolist. The monopolists may have an advantage in bundling, right? Here you have two theaters, A and B, and here's their valuation for two movies, Gone with the Wind, and Getting Gartie's Garter, whatever that is, and here is the valuation that these two theaters give to these two movies, and you can see that. The important thing is, by the way, that there's a reverse. The preferences are reversed, right? I mean, the theater A offers relatively more to Gone with the Wind than theater B, and you can see that if you sell that at one price, well, if you can get 15,000 from theater A, you can get 14,000 from theater B. So if you want to sell that movie, you get the 15. Sorry. What did I wanted to say? You can get. No, sorry. If you sell them separately and standalone, then you sell the Gone with. You can sell the Gone with the Wind at 10,000, and both will buy. The reservation price of the other one being 12, of course, and you can sell Getting Gartie's Garter at 3,000, and therefore you can get 13 from each of the theaters, 26 total. Okay, but if you sell the bundle. The bundle is worth 15,000 to one and 14,000. So you sell 14,000 to each one. Both will buy the bundle, and the total is 28,000. So the bundle is preferred by the agency that sells that. Okay, so this is depends really. You see here the reservation prices 1 and 2, and the price are 1 and 2, and you see of course the ranges that if the valuations are for both are small, these consumers who are in the third quadrant will buy nothing, will buy none. In 1 and 2, 1 and 3, I'm sorry, they'll buy either good 1 or good 2, and then there will be those who buy both. Okay, and if you sell the bundle, here's an example of for consumers. Usually you buy the bundle is the price of the bundle. Those who are below the line, the linear line, which is R1 plus R2 equal to PV, the price of a bundle will buy, and those who are above PB will buy, and those who are below will not buy. And here is an example of 4 individuals, A, B, C, D, and their valuations are there as the points point out. And you see it makes the profit maximizing combination is to sell both a bundle and standalone and separately. And the maximizing combination is you sell the bundle for 120, and you sell each movie for 90, and this is maximizing the revenue. Yeah, right, the revenue. So, and that's like the a la carte or the menu or travel packages, everything included or not, and so forth. All this, we know that. That's for monopolies. But in competitive markets, we know that you cannot have deviation from marginal cost pricing without any returns to scale and standard assumptions. You cannot have the bundling, but I want to show that in insurance markets, with characterized by either pooling or separate equilibrium with asymmetric information, bundling should be a typical phenomena, a natural phenomena to look at. And I want to focus on the bundling of annuities and long-term care and other. You'll see. I think that makes sense. And then at the end, I'll talk about annuity options. I said why people buy. I commented on that before already. I told you the average age of annuity holders in the U.S. is 62. So the puzzle is that the Gartie theorem, here we are. The young people do not buy annuities. There's no question about it. And annuities are bought much later in life. And you can say that it's crowding out by Social Security. To some extent, that's right. But by the way, this argument, just the crowding out by Social Security, cannot be a full explanation. Social Security provides, if I'm not mistaken, in the U.S., a replacement rate, which is the benefits relative to what you had before, of about 35, 36% for the average participant. Okay, and I think no sensible person who makes long-term plans would regard this as an optimum plan for life. You know, we can argue at 60, 70%, whatever, and so forth. So you need, there's something still, there would be a demand for something on top of Social Security. And indeed, you see that 50% in the US have only Social Security and nothing on top. And I would like to address this puzzle and explain it again by the flexibility of the markets. So I will talk about the case, sort of extending the case to the case of other types of uninsurable uncertainties, okay, like income, health, and other things. And then I can show you that there is a demand for residual annuity markets. Could be a relevant question. Why don't we see them yet? I think we will see them, and perhaps seeing them increasingly coming in. And I want then to propose what I call guaranteed annuities and show first, and guaranteed annuities means that there will be different classes of annuities, and each class will specify, the class will be characterized by specifying ahead of time, predetermined return price, reselling price. You get on a dollar 90 cents, or you get 80 cents, and so forth. And there will be individuals who optimize, would like to hold a portfolio of those. This will be a better, will improve upon, even if there would be, like the viatical market for life insurance, there would be a market for reselling annuities. This will provide flexibility. You get some news about your situation, say on income. It's less than what you thought. You would like to sell. The news could be moderately bad or more severe, degree severe. And then you start selling the annuities, the guaranteed annuities, from the highest price and lower, and there will be a cutoff depending. So it provides flexibility to the residual market. That's a proposal, yes.
Is this just an option, or
yes, it will be. That's exactly.
Can you sell it after you receive some benefits and like halfway through?
Yes, you could. You could. You'll see. That's exactly the options. You'll see. It's equivalent to providing options on annuities, and I think, again, this is something which should appeal. An option to annuitize, and just it will be that people will buy, well, as any option, you can buy an option to purchase an annuity later in life at a specified price. You may exercise that option or not, okay, depending on the information that you receive later in life about your survival, longevity, income, and other aspects. And there will be an equilibrium price for that, and the options are equivalent to this guaranteed annuity. I'll come to all this.
Intuitively, what does it kill adverse selection?
Excuse me?
Why does that kill adverse selection?
No, it mitigates the adverse selection. Mitigates the adverse. Never kills it completely. Mitigates, you'll see. Mitigates the adverse selection. The bundling too does not mitigate the bundling. Well, okay, I'm going ahead. The bundling will be generically. The proposition is that bundling will always be generically can be there will be a demand for bundles, and in a robust equilibrium, if the costs are negatively correlated. Okay, I'm jumping ahead, but let me explain. In several markets, for example, take car rentals. The cost of a car rental depends on individual characteristics. But suppose the firms that rent out, well, some they do. They differentiate young people. Say, I think the rental differs up to 25 years old and then over. Some they do try to separate these markets, but imperfectly, naturally. But I'm saying if there are negative correlation between two insurance products, I'm sorry, such as, for example, annuities and long-term care, because annuities are more costly to the supplier if the longer you live, if you have some information about long-term, very good survival probability, and long-term care goes the opposite way. If you are usually your health correlated with life expectancy is lower if you are long lived, and a package of long-term care and annuities could mitigate that's what I want to show. I will show later. Could mitigate the adverse selection in the market and be a desirable product. Okay, so first a pooling equilibrium. So we go now to a simple model. Here's a utility function of a vector of commodities, and alpha is a personal characteristic which will identify the individual. So it's an alpha individuals, numeraire, linear numeraire, no income effects. Simplifying, and CI is the unit cost of I. So I said here, what are examples where the unit cost depends on the character, on the individual, car rentals, car insurance, club membership, and so forth. These are all costs which are related to the individual who purchased, but the firms cannot identify who is the purchasers, cannot separate them, okay, and they are sold. Excuse me?
It's not like car rental.
The agent is observable, but for example, your driving habits is not.
The risk that the driver poses on the car.
Is unobservable, right? Or and certain aspects are unobservable, and but the costs are related to that, to the characteristic, differ a lot across the population. The unit cost of Y is one, of course. The distribution, there's a distribution of types in the population, alpha, on finite interval, alpha, lower bar, upper bar, and the economy has given exogenous resources, and that's the resource constraint, okay? the vector of cost times quantities and so forth. And that's the C. And the first best, you maximize the expected utility. Actually, it's not expected yet. I'm saying that the sum of utilities and subject to the resource constraint. And the first order condition, naturally, is that marginal costs are equal to the marginal utility is equal to marginal cost, if you can identify. That's the first best. And Y is the residual. Yeah, okay, by the budget constraint. So this allocation can be supported. So this is the welfare maximum. The first best, of course, can be supported by efficiency prices which are equal to marginal costs. And now, what about the case in which the alpha, the price will be independent of alpha by asymmetric information? So the sellers cannot identify who is who. And with annuities, by the way, I must say, I use only linear pricing rules. So the Rothschild-Stiglitz, for example, with quantitative constraints or discounts, are not applicable in the annuity market because you can go into you buy annuities from different sellers. So long as this is not you can do that, non-linear pricing rules, if you have a seller who controls the market. In a competitive market.
Can't you require that you inform an insurance company of any other? Can't an insurance company require that you know what other insurance you have?
Is that, if it is, then perhaps you could. I think it would be.
Like leveraging, when a firm like a hedge fund leverages, they have to reveal that they may be borrowing from several lenders, but
they have to reveal what they have done with the others, how much they leverage. If that's credible and people can be expected to report the right amount, I think, yeah, then we should consider nonlinear pricing. Okay. Excuse me?
Yeah, it's an informational problem.
It's an informational problem. It's almost all the annuity issues are related to asymmetric information. I think this is the underlying constraint, which is immutable. Other constraints, people say.
I may know better the probability of my mortality than that.
Right.
But that would be true that's independent of the market. That's true.
Right.
I'm saying it seems conceivable to me that you may require full revelation.
Perhaps. I think.
If I take insurance against my house, I think I have to tell them that my insurance policy.
There's a requirement because you're not allowed to insure the house for more than
That's right. More than sweat. Right. Right. Okay.
In that case, you can do it
Fine. Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'm saying everything eventually depends on us. For example, there was also, you remember the alpha, the improvement, the health, the longevity. People differ by longevity, and if alpha is endogenous, people can invest and take better medical care by investing and getting a higher alpha. There was an argument, I think it was even raised by Gary Becker, and said that then this creates a moral hazard issue because the people who have annuities, in fact, have a nice the people will invest in lengthening their life more if they have the annuity. Okay, you'll have this clearly. That's true, but again, if firms have information, if you invest in better medical care, or you go to the gym and so forth, in principle, firms could find out this information if they could. They would make the price of annuities contingent on your medical care.
They do it for smoking.
Excuse me?
They do it for smoking.
Okay. Yeah, that could be. So I guess, yeah, as things are, if things are very clear, and even smoking, how do you? When you come, you didn't smoke, but a year later you do. They take away. You have to report annually. This doesn't seem reasonable. I think all these issues about firms being informed about what's going on is stretching. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Some things are of course are observable. There's no question. Gender differences, and they do differentiate. I gave you the numbers about females and males in the insurance. By the way, you should know that the employers cannot discriminate between males and females in pension system. A Supreme Court decision in the U.S. But of course, it will create could create kind of distortions that I'm not sure the Supreme Court has considered. Namely, if an employer, two male and female potential employees come in and are otherwise in other respects equal, the same, the employer will knows that the female will get pensions 4 more years. And if they are compelled to provide the same pension, this is an argument in favor of the male employee in some sense. So there will be some anyway. So I don't want to.
Paid as a function of your working wage?
About your
working wage? The thought I had is
working wage being correlated with
the pension contribution, so you make 50% of what your wage was. Because I was just thinking that could be one story of why there's a wage gap. If women tend to live longer, it could explain one reason why wages would be lower for women of equal skill.
with wage. Why do you think that there's any lifetime contract? If there would be a lifetime contract with wages, then you're right. But I think employees can always move out and in. I don't see two equally talented male and female. I don't think the employer has any reason to support unless it's slavery. But pensions, if there's an obligation for a pension, that would bear on the employer. If this is part of the contract, a GM, and it is. Anyway, okay, let's. So a pooling equilibrium means the price is independent of alpha. There's a price for each good, but doesn't vary across alpha. And this is that's the resource constraint, and then and that's the first order condition given the resource constraint in a pooling equilibrium. And there will be demands for goods I, function of the vector of prices and the alpha, and for Y as well. And the profits accordingly are written down there. These are the profits pi I for each one, the revenue minus the costs, which are different, and so forth. And then you can write that in the matrix form. And okay, that matrix you'll see later, the substitution term, which is basically sort of a Ramsey condition. You see with the substitution terms. Basically, a pooling equilibrium is a vector of prices which satisfies zero profits, and that's the formula. If you just from the previous slide, you just solve for the prices, and you see what it is. It's a weighted average. It's a weighted average of the individual costs, CI, by the quantities purchased, by the equilibrium quantities. And that's the adverse selection, because you will naturally, those who are who have higher costs will tend to buy a higher quantity, and therefore the CI will not be the expected cost in the population. The average cost will be higher, as you'll see. Yeah, that's natural. You see right away. Let me skip it's also when this matrix that I defined before is certain conditions on having stability, a unique and stable equilibrium. So it is with certain conditions. It is. Now let's move to annuities, which is just application of what we did before. So A is the flow of consumption. A is the consumption flow. Z bar is life expectancy. We simplify about over life, differences over life. So this is Z. A is consumption during life, and Z bar is life expectancy. And now a bequest motive, VB. B is the bequest. Okay. And Z bar as before is life expectancy for type alpha. So this differs, and Z prime in the way I've done it before is decreasing in alpha, just a convention. Okay. Remember the exponential, so that's what I have in mind. So Z prime is monotone in alpha, and social welfare is the sum of utilities, with including the bequests, and the resource constraint, the last line, the resource constraint is written down there, and F of alpha is of course the distribution of the population by Carters, the resource constraint. And the first order condition for the first best of welfare maximization, the first best equates the marginal utilities, okay, which is, and the marginal utility, and the quantities, A star and B star, the quantities are independent of alpha. By the way, this was, and on the other hand, of course, you notice if A star and B star, namely the consumption and the bequests, are independent of alpha in the first best, utility is not. Utility, longer-lived individuals, as you see there, du, d alpha, is negative. In other words, those who live longer have a higher utility. Some people find this as problematic. In fact, this was actually pointed out also by Professor Arrow in a piece on utilitarian pricing, that consumption is equalized, but not utility. And I forget the title of that paper, but there was, and it, yeah. By the way, this is the same as is in the Muirleys. I would point that in the Muirleys first best, say, in the Muirley story, Muirley's economy. Individuals differ by productivity, labor disutility is separable from consumption utility, and the first best will have the more productive individuals working more, and therefore having a smaller utility. Some people find that problematic, but that's the utilitarian objective. It makes sense.
The Rawlsian viewpoint.
Excuse me?
The Rawlsian viewpoint is the limit equality.
That's right, the limit, exactly. But utilitarian objective, that individuals who are more productive will work more and enjoy a lower utility than the others, the first best. So this is a similar kind of result. Of course, the equilibrium, if there would be full information again, if prices would depend on alpha, they would just be equal in this context here to life expectancy. The price of insurance would be 1. There's no interest. There's no, again, I'm in the context, you saw in the constraint, I did say that, but there's no rate of return, 0 rate of return. These are all fine. There's no problem in having return on non-annuitized assets. Okay, so this is the first best, which can be supported, and now we move into the go into the price into the price which is not distinguishing in the asymmetric information. So there's a price PA for you can call it annuities, because you remember UA times Z bar. This is an annuity. The price of annuities times the quantity of annuity, price of insurance. Obviously, the price of the PB in equilibrium will be 1, and let's the demand for the individuals optimizing utility, their utility, which was already written in expectation, Z bar. You'll have demands for annuities, A hat, and for life insurance, B hat, depending on the prices of annuities and of insurance, and the alpha, the type, with the prices being independent of alpha as the content, and that these are the profits. You see there, the profits of in the annuity market, which is the revenue minus the costs, which is the cost being life insurance, the life expectancy times the quantity. These are the costs, and the price of life insurance, pi b, and the equilibrium will simply be 0 profits.
Is there a simple way that a firm could deviate from this putative equilibrium and do better?
How?
Well, suppose that there are 2 types of people. Those who live 10 years past retirement and those who live 20 years past. And they know who they are, the insurance company doesn't. What a firm could do is to, instead of offering an annuity with guaranteed forever, as long as the person lives, offer an annuity which cuts off after 10 years. That's going to attract just
those who survived, that group.
And it can offer them a lower price because they're not going to survive.
If there are 2 types and there's 1 supplier, all this could be. But if there's a distribution of more types, you would like to condition it on survival. In other words, it will differ how many years you lived afterwards and buying the annuities. I didn't have the timing here. This could be. Yeah, no, it Could be in a dynamic context, okay? Not in this context here, where you buy. I just had here that individuals buy annuities ahead of time, and that's it. You're right, I think.
But if they,
Because it's different. What was he saying? The only product he's selling here.
Right.
but the,
Ordinary annuities.
but the question is why aren't there more products?
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Slightly different than what you suggested, but I'm coming exactly to that. So given this, now you see the price of annuities in this pooling equilibrium is a weighted average of life expectancies, weighted by the quantities. It's a quantity-weighted price. And given, not surprisingly, I in the previous slide, I said what is the sign of A hat, the demand for annuities, as a function of alpha. Alpha, you remember, higher alpha is shorter longevity, okay? Those who, A hat decreases in alpha. In other words, those who have a higher longevity purchase more annuities, and therefore, the last line, the price of annuities is higher than the population average life expectancy. Okay, that's clear. It's easy to show by monotone function, changing signs, easy to prove. And that's basically the feeling of people that the price of annuities is not attractive. But that's because of this equilibrium condition.
So no, you would assume that I can't take my money through time with me. This is the only financial asset.
That's right. Yeah, you'll see. But in a minute, you'll see how I relax that. This will be that you can also carry money, if you have if things. But you will have no reason to do that in the context that I'm at this point. But you'll see later. You may. Yeah. So you can see this. Of course, the price of life insurance, given that I have no rate of return, is 1. The equilibrium price is 1, and it's stable. It's globally stable. The pi A and pi B. This will determine equilibrium prices. Now I want to examine the issue of period certain annuities. So what is a period certain annuities? You can see here now there's the specification. They are A, and the period certain are X. I call it the X. In other words, the specification is that if you die within the period X years, in X years, you will be receiving a certain amount which I call delta. It's not exactly what they are, these annuities. They depend really on when you die, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so forth, and if there's a 10-year certain. But I have also in the paper, if you look at my website, you have a more realistic description of these annuities. This takes care. So here, if you die here within the period X, you'll get delta AX, a proportion of what you bought. These period certain annuities. Okay, so the amount of period certain annuities, like 10-year certain annuities, is denoted by AX, and regular annuities by A. And here is the welfare. So your utilities your consumption is A alpha plus AX of alpha. This is the flow, and multiplied by life expectancy, and your bequest, the utility of bequest, is B of alpha, the life insurance if you wish, and the payment if you died within the X. So this is P alpha is the probability that you will die within X, okay, depending on alpha. And 1 minus P alpha is if you don't, then you just get the life insurance. Okay? And so the resource constraint, again, accordingly, should take into account the fact that you pay out, you see the third term there, or the second term, delta AX, A alpha, delta AX alpha, times P alpha is the expected amount that you will pay out to those who died within this period. And this is part of the resource constraint. So that's now the modified resource constraint. And you'll have a first best equilibrium A star, AX star, and B star. In other words, regular annuities, period certain annuities, and life insurance. And here's the proposition. The first best has no X annuities. AX is 0. Of course, it's dominated by regular annuities and life insurance. And there's no... And this was sort of the argument that Davidoff and Diamond made if you look at their paper in the AER, why do people buy period certain annuities, which seems to be dominated by regular annuities and life insurance. Excuse me?
We don't know our own number.
Okay, now we are getting, this is my answer to that is the nature of equilibrium.
In cases where you do know alpha, why wouldn't it be best just to offer
Yeah, could be.
You're introducing a limited market, but if we all know alpha,
What do you mean we all?
if each person knows their own tag,
Yeah.
then it seems the way you can avoid adverse selection by offering full market. You offer every possible annuity for any number of years. Everybody choose their own. Each be priced separately, and it's just you price. I'm going to buy the annuity for alpha years. It's going to be priced. I can discriminate.
Different groups, right? Right. I understand. You want the X. The X is all. Why do I take a particular X, or 10 years or 20 years? Why not have individuals choose the kind of and people will self-select in that. Yeah. Yes, makes sense. But in the first best, of course, that doesn't matter, right? So now in the pooling equilibrium, I have again you have the price of. There will be equilibrium price. PA is the price of regular annuities. PAX is the price of X annuities, and PB the price of insurance of life insurance. And you have the demands with the hats, and the properties are obvious. There are substitutes and so forth. And here are the equilibrium prices, the zero profits. So this is the price. The price of regular annuities, as before, is the weighted average of life expectancy with the weighted by quantities purchased of regular annuities, and the price of X annuities similarly is the weighted is the expected payout, which is Z bar now plus delta P of times the quantity, again weighted by the quantities of AX annuities. Okay, and here's the proposition that here there will be a self-selection, and in fact, generically, and I have they're very good examples it's fairly easy to derive examples where there will be self-selection in the following sense. People in the low range of alpha, which is the long-lived, purchase only regular annuities and life insurance, of course, and life insurance. And life insurance increases with the alpha, okay? And people with very low life expectancy will purchase only AX annuities. And people in the middle range will buy both types of annuities. Okay? And this, to my mind, is one answer to this puzzle that was why people buy the period certain annuities. And I'm saying it's the nature of equilibrium. And you will have this self-selection. And again, I'm saying this actually, it's interesting, could be tested. In the UK, for example, data is so rich that you have data about the people, about everybody who buys regular annuities or period certain annuities and life insurance. They have all the data there, and you can have some, I assume, and they said it can be inferred also their longevity, whether this conforms to what I have proposed here. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll just continue here. So now the bundling, and I'll just provide an example. So here again, I'm going on the route of having individual costs being identified with the individual characteristics. So two goods, X1 and X2. The cost of individual alpha buying good 1 is C1 alpha, and the cost of good 2 for individual alpha is C2 alpha. So costs are individualized costs. Like as I said, I gave car insurance. You can find other examples. Okay? And I assume that C1 increases with alpha while C2 decreases with alpha. And the examples I had in mind was annuities and life insurance. Costs of annuities rise with longevity. Costs of life insurance decline. Medical care goes down as people live longer. Okay. According here to Svibody, who suggests that the bundling of annuities and long-term care is very important empirically. He thinks that this is perhaps the most important thing that can be done in bundling annuities and long-term care. I saw the figures by I think it was Jeff Brown and others on the long-term care costs, the rise in long-term care costs, and that's perhaps the most important factor that bears on people's mind talking about, retiring, the increasing cost of long-term care. And I think that the bundling is one way, and then we'll go to another suggestion. So here's this example, okay? Logarithmic utility, alpha. The alpha differs in the population. C1 is just alpha, just for the example, it's good enough, and 1 minus alpha, perfect negative correlation. And here is, so these will be x hat 1 and x hat 2 would be the standalone demands for 1 and 2. And the equilibrium price is what is written below there, and in this example is 2/3 for each one of the goods. Okay, it's 2/3. Now suppose there's a bundle offered. By the way, the proportion itself could be optimized, but let's take 1 and 2 equal quantities of good 1 and good 2 in a bundle, okay, a package. And let the price of the bundle be Q. So this is now the budget constraint for the individual, and there will be a demand. The demand is there. X1 for the bundle is 1 over Q. There's no income effect. You remember I had a numeraire, linear. The utility was linear in the numeraire. So that's the demand for a logarithmic utility, and the equilibrium price of Q hat, you can calculate that now, is 1. And so the next thing to consider is and therefore the level of the indirect utility, in other words, the optimized utility in the case of a bundle is R minus 1, and with P1 and P2 in the standalone markets, it was 2/3 for each one, and therefore, I'm sorry, there's a superscript here, must be, I compare U hat and U hat B, it's equivalent to that, and it can be shown here that in this example that the utility of the bundle is larger than the utility of the separate, of the standalone markets, okay, for all alpha. Now you may ask, for example, is there in this case will there be a tendency, I assume sorry, I didn't, you saw it written there, a uniform distribution, 0, 1, all these are for uniform distribution of the alphas, this example. So the question is will there be any, you still have to prove that there will be no segment of this interval of 0, 1 of individuals who will profitably form a standalone market in 1 and 2, and that has to be proved and can be proved. Okay, so it's just an example of two negative. Again, the message is, I think, in this one is a negative correlation in individual costs in the case in asymmetric information equilibria, calls for bundling in some cases, and the negative correlation is important in insurance, and then bundling becomes a natural case. And I hear from people who deal with that it's, of course, the natural question is, why don't we see more of that? But and I asked people who do the data, like Amy Finkelstein, and she said it is discussed now to have the bundling of annuities. And I thought, and this again, this is mitigating the adverse selection. Bundling will be desirable and will be a market equilibrium. Excuse me? That? No, I don't have. Good. I still think, I don't think that this is, some individuals want 1 or 2, but some will want both, and there will be again, perhaps there will be then both a standalone and bundling. Yeah. It's all, let's say then what I do here is suggestive. It's not yet, fully rounded up and generalized. And it's called for. I wish I'll do it. But clearly it is possible and should be considered. Now I'm coming to the issue of annuity options, which I said before. Set the result and deferred annuities. There's no inherent result. I'm saying no inherent reason why there shouldn't be residual markets. Now let's talk about a sequential market. Now, if I want to talk about residual market, I have to go from 2 to at least 3 periods. Okay, so individuals will live 1 period and 2 periods, and then with probability p, will survive to period 3. I'll denote them actually 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so there are 3 periods, 0, 1, and 2, and they live for sure for 2 periods and perhaps for 3. Okay, and initially individuals do not know their survival probabilities. Everybody's has same prior. Survival probabilities has a distribution of f of p, but it is unknown to individuals, you will see, when they plan in period 0. Income, now I take income as given in period 0, y0, and in period 1 there will be a y1, but it doesn't matter, it's certain initially. They purchase annuities A0 in period 0. These are long-term annuities. Annuities are, the A0 are annuities which give a payment, each annuity makes a payment of $1 in period 2 if you are alive in period 2. Okay? And so A0 are long-term annuities whose price is Q0. We'll have an equilibrium price. And the amount of savings in non-annuitized asset, money, you can say money, is Y0 minus Q0 A0. That's the subtract. You carry this over to period 1. At the beginning of period 1, individuals are informed about they earn an income of Y1, but this is certain at this point, and learn about their survival probability. Okay? So then they can purchase short-term annuities A1 at the price of Q1, I denote Q11, or short sell an amount of B1 of the period 0 annuities. Okay? In period 2, if they live contingent on survival, the annuities payout will be A0 plus A1 minus B1. Yes? The annuities, the long-term annuities you purchased, plus the short-term annuities minus the sales you made in period 1. Okay?
You're selling to another individual, you're selling back to the firm.
There's a market. You'll see there's an equilibrium. It doesn't matter what you call it. There will be an equilibrium price, which will be rational expectation. Yeah. A zero profit equilibrium. It's in a perfect market anyway, because I thought about the issue, why do we have a viatical market for life insurance where people can sell their life insurance back in the viatical market? These are firms who will buy your life insurance, will continue paying if still needed for the life insurance premium, and they will get the premium when you die. Okay? And then you can also, firms allow life insurance to be returned to the firm. And I said, my plan is to look a little bit into these two. How can these two markets coexist? Because do you sell it to the firm that sold you the annuity, or the life insurance, or in the viatical market? But okay. So annuities can be, either you buy additional annuities, that's the residual market. You buy additional annuities, A1, denoted by A1 in period 1, and at the price of Q11, or you sell your long-term, an amount B1 of your long-term annuities at the price of Q12. That can be distinguished. Buying and selling is two separate operations, so the prices may differ and will differ. So, yeah, right, that's what I say here. So the prices may differ. So initially, when individuals are alike in period 0, they don't know, there's no difference in, people do not know their survival probabilities. The price of the long-term annuities will be E of P, expected life expectancy and life expectancy. And now obviously for any P, in that you can see right away, that for any P, either individuals purchase in period 1 additional annuities and therefore do not sell any annuities, or they sell annuities and do not buy any additional annuities. So one of the two, you have on one side of the market. Okay. So now suppose, let's look at this equilibrium when you have these residual markets. Typically what you'll have is there will be a P0 less than P bar. The limit on P is P bar, denoted by P bar, it could be 1 for sure, right? And P0 will be some number between, and then there will be another number P1. P1 that is above P, it should be lower bar, I think, it should be lower bar, which is lower than P lower bar, sorry for these typos, and people who are, the people who are in the upper bound of survival will purchase additional annuities, and people who are in the lower, and who get the information about that they are short-lived, would like to sell annuities. Okay, period 0 annuities. And these will be the equilibrium prices. Q11, again, you see what it is. It's the price times the amount of annuities that you buy, those who buy, and the range is from P0 to P bar. Okay, those who buy, minus, of course, the price minus their the probability. People will differ. So this profits, expected profit 0. 0 expected profit, sorry. Weighted by the quantity, and Q12 is those that you sell. And now comes the theorem, which is, I think, is important. Namely, P0 is P bar, and P1 is equal to P lower bar. In other words, A1 and B1 are equal to 0. In other words, there are no residual annuity markets. Maybe you will, I'll tell you in a minute how. The proof is straightforward. You do it, you simply look at these equilibrium prices, and you look at the conditions, the optimization condition for the individual, say, those who are just on the verge of buying additional annuities. And you'll see that those individuals would not like to buy, anybody above, slightly above the P0 will not buy annuities. Actually, this is an impossibility. So you have to raise, because the price, it's Rothschild Stiglitz, basically. So there's no P0 less than P bar that will equilibrate the market in period 1 for buying annuities, and likewise for selling annuities. So basically these markets will be closed. There will be no residual market in this case. That's the theorem. Okay? And as I said, the proof is by looking at these optimality conditions for individuals who are on the margin of each side of the market, buying or selling, and you will see that they do not, slightly above or slightly below, they will not, for them, it doesn't make, for them it is not optimal to buy, say, in the upper bound or to sell in the lower bound. So the price has to be raised in the upper bound, or P1 has to be decreased. So eventually it ends up P0 is P bar and P1 is P lower bar. That's the. But now I want to say, so purchasing an optimal amount of annuities early in life ensures an optimal consumption. All the adjustments when individuals receive information about their survival, the adjustments are in consumption and not in the amount of annuities. There will be no selling or buying annuities in period 1. Okay? All the annuities are long-term annuities, when the only uncertainty is longevity. Now I take also future incomes to be also uncertain.
If the previous comment that contradicts all empirical evidence, this assumes we all earn at the same time. Well, at the same time we all earn our own P. If you had a different period without people, some people earn this time, some people earn this period, you get the same result as adding this type of uncertainty.
Again, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Empiric, you wrote, there's a comment in the last slide that empirically this result doesn't hold. And I'm asking is, in the model that you presented, you assume that we all learn at the same time our longevity. At the same time we learn the probability, we learn how long we expect to live.
Period 1. Yes. Suppose they find out in different periods in time.
Periods, half the people in one period, half the other, then there may still be transactions, because those that learn in the second period.
Perhaps. Perhaps. I doubt that, but okay, I'll have to look into that. I didn't think about that. In this model, as I said, this is the proposition. There will be no residual markets. There's more flexibility in the number of markets. Yeah, you can resell or buy at age 35 or 45 and so forth. Perhaps some you may still have, even when the only uncertainty is longevity. I don't think so. I think it can be proved even then in that case. So now let's take a two-dimensional uncertainty. Okay, survival probabilities and income. And at the beginning of period 1, individuals receive information about both their survival and about their income in period 1. And I want to show, actually I'll give you just a picture, then you have a residual annuity market. There will exist an annuity market, and this is the general picture. In other words, those who will receive good information about income and survival probabilities, in those cases there will be they will purchase additional annuities. In the upper quadrant from this here, A1 is positive. They will buy additional annuities. Those who are in here, they got good information about their income and about their survival. Those who got bad information about their income and about their survival will sell some, and there will be those, given the discreteness of that, who will stay put. Neither buy or sell. But you will have an additional, you'll have residual, an open additional, an active additional, a residual market. Okay. So when you move from one type of uncertainty to two, there will be a residual annuity market, and I think that's what is happening. That's the play. That is why there is a need for flexibility. Individuals, they are sort of moving from the Gartie theorem to, a more general situation is when you have uncertainties also about other aspects. My health, my family, my income. Here I took income. It could be any personal characteristic, uninsurable, and individuals would like then to have to do something about their holdings of annuities. Okay? So when there's uncertainty about longevity and future income, then competitive pooling has a residual market for annuities. Okay? And the final topic that I want to address today is the suggestion of refundable annuities. I want to propose a class of annuities, each carrying a guaranteed commitment by the issuer to refund the annuity when presented by the holder at a pre-specified price. I call these guaranteed refundable annuities. Okay, so you can see what the guaranteed refund price of RI is RI, and so and I denote the quantity of this class I annuities by A0I. The price will be Q0I of refund, right? And the amount of refunded of A0I will be the amount refunded of A0I I denote by B1I. So people who choose to refund an amount B1 out of their I-type annuities, okay? Maybe all or nothing, okay? And I said the idea is that you saw before I had a market for buying and selling. I thought that guaranteed annuities will provide you more flexibility because you get information, say, about your income. It could be moderately bad, or moderately good, moderately bad, and bad. By having a portfolio of annuities which have a pre-specified resale price, guaranteed price, each individual will choose the cutoff, what to sell and what to hold, okay, of the different classes. Excuse me? It should be offered all the range of RI, all the range. On $1 you can get 90 cents, 80 cents, 70 cents, and so forth and so on. And the quantity, the price of those annuities of class I will be determined, is endogenous, determined in equilibrium. It's quite clear what these modeling. The price. Here's the price. Here's the equilibrium price of type I refundable annuities type I, and I'm saying there will be a positive demand for refundable annuities for each class, generically. And now I want to talk about options. Let me actually move directly to the picture here, because I can see that they span the same state of nature. Let's look here at period 0. You buy an option whose price is O pi. You'll see in a minute what pi is. Pi is the price in which you are guaranteed to buy an annuity in period 1 if you wish. Okay? So you buy an option O pi, whose price is O pi. Period 1, you receive at the beginning information about P and Y1, the two types of uncertainties, and you decide either, according to this information, if you will be alive in period 1, then your net benefit, and you hold on to your, you exercise the option, then your net benefit is 1, what you'll get from the, each option provides $1 in period 2 if you survive. So the price of the option is O pi, and the price of the annuity which you buy is pi. So your net benefit is what is written here, 1 minus O pi minus pi. Okay? If you're dead, you lost both the price of the option and the the annuity that you purchased. If you didn't buy an annuity, then if you don't buy an annuity and you just bought the option, then you lost O pi. No, I'm saying it's equivalent. This is the theorem. And here, that's exactly like, it's equivalent to refundable annuities. In other words, if you look at the parameter of the net benefit with guaranteed annuities, say R was, you remember, was the refund, and you see here below is, if you just set in the parameters, this is the price of the refundable annuity, the price of the option plus pi, plus the price of the annuity that you'll buy, and so forth. These are exactly, they span the same state. So basically I'm saying options to annuitize are equivalent to guaranteed annuities. I think some people will options are better to understand better. Some people understand better options rather than guaranteed annuities. And I think it should be actually an attractive product, options to annuitize. For many, let's now say the word behavioral reasons. Yes, people given the fact people do not are reluctant to commit to annuities, but I'm saying buying an option to annuitize, which you may exercise or not later on, according to the information you get, may be a more attractive product, and it could even be provided by employers. Could be attractive for employers who provide at a low price relative to O pi, the option. They'll provide the employees the option. Employees will exercise or not exercise the option, the purchase or not. And well, I mentioned here Taylor and Bernarzi, for example. They have, I think, the firm is called Save Now, Purchase Later or something, where they have a firm that's based on behavioral action, where they propose to firms the following idea. They said, your employees do not go to the 401k. And they said, offer employees the following. You don't have to buy anything now, but whatever you'll commit yourself to buy from increases in your wage later on, from fractions of the increase in wage later on. Okay? You commit yourself to buy a certain fraction. So if you don't get then a rise, a certain amount or something, then you don't buy. Okay? You commit from the rise in income. And they found out, they claim, I saw an article by them, that this was a tremendous success. This was compared to the regular, standard plans that employers offer, the 401k, the standard 401k. Excuse me? No, yeah, I agree, but it could be behavioral. I'm saying people say that, people, the postponement, yes, the procrastination. People are, could be. I'm just saying this could be appeal. Also the fact that people, this provides the flexibility. This is real. The flexibility. You get an option. It's low priced. And you know that, okay, if you don't exercise it, you lost the price of the option, which is if it's early in life, could be, told you, could be really a nice discount on that. And that was the puzzle. Why don't people buy deferred annuities early in life, given the fact that they can in a, with reason they can buy it at a nice discount. I think I quoted the first in the lecture yesterday that there's a probability, I think, in the U.S. that people who are 25 years old, there's a probability of more than 20% they will not reach 65. So you can get a nice, if you buy an annuity, a deferred annuity that will start paying at 65, you get it. You should get it in a competitive market at a nice discount.
Didn't you give the answer to this? It seems to me that one band investment,
Again?
because of the adverse selection.
Yes.
The result is that you
That's what I.
Priced, and therefore you're better just investing your own money. I mean, I remember a dissertation at Stanford 30 years ago on this, which argued, in fact, you do better by just investing your money because of the adverse selection. Because the premiums are higher because of the adverse selection.
Still, you may recall, I think annuities are always dominant on investing in any other investment in a real market. You could always get whatever you can get in the bank or by investing in non-annuitized asset. Annuities should always provide more by the hazard rate, right? Should always dominate that. You'll buy less, maybe, or more quantity, but I think it should always dominate investing in a market in which prices are cleared, right? Firms should be able to offer. Think about it. I think the equilibrium price of annuities, the return on annuities, should always exceed the return on non-annuitized asset.
Because you're always better off with insurance.
That's right.
You're risk averse.
Whatever the insurance is, small or large, they're always better off with that.
As investing in the market, but then getting insurance.
Getting insurance.
But you're not getting, a
there-
fair insurance policy.
There might be adverse selection in the insurance market, but
You still
people still participate in insurance.
exactly.
Despite the
That's
adverse selection
what-
because it's better than not having insurance.
Exactly. Yes. That's the answer. It's always preferable.
The price is high enough it doesn't pay. If I have an ordinary, if I'm in an average,
It might be the insurance market falls apart altogether. but
No, that's
if it
that's.
doesn't, then
If you have an insurance market, you would always prefer. I think this dominates buying non-annuitized assets, unless you put in the considerations that you of information later you'll not be able to sell. You don't have the flexibility. That's what I was talking about today. But aside from that, it's always better to have plus the insurance. The return on annuities, I think this is the fundamental fact. The return on annuities always exceeds the return on non-annuitized asset as a first. Regardless.
Regardless of the price.
Excuse me?
If I've got ordinary expectations,
Okay.
then because of the adverse selection,
Yes.
I'm paying this is an actually unfair bet,
Okay. Yes.
which should offset.
So the return on annuities.
Therefore,
The return on annuities reflects the adverse selection. Yeah, it reflects it. But still, whatever you can get in non-annuitized asset, you should get something on top.
well, because apparently, if I remember the dissertation correctly, you didn't. They
Okay,
did
well,
calculations and they argued.
No, I'm saying in equilibrium. I'm saying in equilibrium.
Okay, that's in fact, you looked at the actual thing. I mean, you gave the data that would show that people don't buy it, and if you're going to see
Yeah,
that
I
they're
said that.
rational,
Yeah.
maybe some,
And the adverse selection is really significant. If you look at these tables by Poterba and the others, this is a very significant adverse selection in these markets. It's no question. And
the result must be that the prices, in equilibrium, the prices they have to be corresponding.
that's right. The price will reflect that. The price will reflect that.
In regards to the adverse selection, when you propose...
By the way, allow me still to recapitulate what I did today. Adverse selection is the quantities that people buy. But I want to, again, bring back the issue that adverse selection can also be reflected in different types of insurance instruments that people buy. This was the additional point that I brought in today. And I think in all these econometric studies, Chapori and Salani and others have done, they looked at the quantities of what people buy. But I think this is not the full picture of the effects of adverse selection. It's also people would self-select into different types of insurance instruments. And that should be, if you do econometric studies, this should be part of what you're doing.
The idea of bundling in order to mitigate the adverse selection together with long-term care.
Yeah.
I was thinking if you were implying also a way of screening, like offering different 20%, 80%, or the other way around. I mean, more a heavier component of long-term care and a lighter component of annuity, or switching the
This could be, but
weight if it's possible to screen.
But in general, right, they could have different types. What I think is desirable is to have products which have the flexibility that if you're recognized by the firm, you have to bring some evidence that you have a need for long-term care or for medical care, then there will be a substitution from the regular flow of benefits to medical care, and this will be reflected. Now, how much? There could be different types. But in general, the policy should allow flexibility in shifting from the standard benefits that you get to get also medical care or long-term care in return for a reduction in the annuity flow, in the benefits from annuities flow. I think this is a sensible policy because people are really concerned now about the long-term care, and I understand. I see from the writings of Bodhi and others who really look at the market. They say this is really the most desirable new aspect that should come in is somehow the flexibility between the pensions and long-term care. And if you allow these packages, it will make sense. Anyway, thank you.